Right. 1st November 2023, and I cannot believe that we're almost at the end of the year and we're entering yet another year, 2024, very, very soon. And it's been dramatic as usual. A lot has happened this year, which it was basically unimaginable a few months ago. You could not have imagined that the things that have happened in Zimbabwe are real. Right now, as we speak, Nelson Chamisa has basically lost the CCC to an imposter, Sengezo, who is a creation of the ZANU-PF government and of President Mnangagwa specifically. And this has happened after the election, which was disputed. And as we speak, there is uh, talks in SADC about the disputed election. So it's still ongoing. On Saturday, there's going to be another meeting of SADC heads of state, and it's not yet over. President Mnangagwa in a very, very tight spot, and he's going to get a result. We're actually all going to get a result as Zimbabwe before the end of this weekend. We're going to have an update as to what has happened there. But I want to quickly look at what has happened in the CCC. Nelson Chamisa has basically lost the CCC party. What Sengezo has done this week is that he has gone to ZEC and he has said to ZEC that he is the one who is responsible for nominating candidates. And he has presented a letter with three people who can sign for the CCC. And I think we've shared that letter before. He has also provided a constitution for the CCC. So if you remember, the CCC had not provided a constitution as a way of hiding the internal structures. So what Sengezo has done, he has gone to ZEC and has provided that constitution, and basically he's building a case to say that he's the owner of the CCC, and he is going to be in charge basically of the CCC. Other things that he's done is he has said that he's the one who's going to select who's going to contest the elections, the by-elections, which are crazy by their own nature. He's the one who's going to be selecting the candidates. He has also said that the current candidates or the current MPs, people like Ostalos, they won't be able to contest. So you can see he's building his own political party. He's not worried about what Nelson Chamisa is saying because he's got the backing of ZANU-PF, he's got the backing of the establishment. And the quick gazetting of these by-elections, it's clear what they're planning to do. They're planning to have weak candidates. They're planning to have a boycott. So Nelson Chamisa has already said they're boycotting these elections. So this is something that is coming from ZANU-PF offices, and it's a comedy. What is happening in Zimbabwe? You cannot even write a book or create a movie about the things that President Mnangagwa is doing in his last days, because this is the post-Mnangagwa era. What you are seeing now is the post-Mnangagwa era. There is nothing after this for President Mnangagwa. His presidency is over. Whatever he was planning is over. There will never be anything that will come out of the Mnangagwa presidency. Mark my word, when you look back, all you remember about Mnangagwa is someone who started with a lot of promise, but who ended up with nothing. He's not going to achieve anything. The only thing is the way he's going to get out. It's going to be so unceremonious. You will see what is going to happen. He's going to get out of office so unceremoniously that he can't even walk in Zimbabwe. That is how it's going to be. So as I said, Sengezo has made very, very damaging moves. He has basically snatched the CCC from Nelson Chamisa. He has gone to ZEC. He has presented the constitution. He has presented the list of people who are going to sign for Chamisa. He has also said the current MPs are not going to be able to contest in these elections. And then he has also recognized President Mnangagwa as the president. He's saying the elections were not rigged. The problem is that the CCC was not organized, the imposed candidates. So you can watch the interview on gambako.com. If you just say Sengezo Shabangu, you're going to see it. And I'm going to play a snippet of that interview here. So Shabangu has also said the court case that was brought by Nelson Chamisa is going to fail. And the reason is that he says the party did not sue him, or the party was not cited in the court papers. So he's building a very, very convoluted case. Yeah, there has been think tanks behind this activity by Sengezo Shabangu. I don't support what Sengezo Shabangu is doing, and I don't support what Senator Kalpani Pugen is doing with Sengezo Shabangu. I've not had a discussion with him over this, but I think this is a total disgrace. What they're doing there, Sengezo Shabangu and whoever is working with them, it's disgraceful what they're doing after the rigging that happened openly. And right now, as we speak, SADC is dealing with that matter. This is disgraceful. What the guys are doing. This is tribal politics. They're being used on tribal basis. Everyone who is supporting this thing, they're being used for a tribal purpose. And I challenge anyone who supports Sengezo to come up with any reason why they would think Sengezo is doing the right thing. Nothing to do with the CCC. You cannot fire Ostalos. Even if I had disagreements with the way that the CCC was doing their things in the beginning, there is no way you can replace Ostalos with anyone. That's crazy. You can't do that because those are the guys who brought the CCC from nothing. They worked very, very hard to bring it where it is. And you can't say you are replacing someone with a local candidate from Bulawayo who is more than Ostalos. Any day, even if Ostalos was to stand as an independent right now, you beat those guys similar to all the other CCC candidates, much, much better than whatever you can present. And I want to look at what Chamisa should now do. And this is going to be very, very short. Chamisa should then proceed, firstly, to dump everything to do with the current setup in Zimbabwe, the parliament, the Senate, the councillors. He needs to pull out of this thing. There is nothing coming out of that thing. They need to make that decision and pull out. Look what happened at the kidnapping that happened today of young Gadzore. That is craziness. So Chamisa needs to pull out of everything. And when I say everything, he needs to tell people, if you're with me, you're out of this thing. The mistake that they made during the Monzora days must not be made this time. They need to pull out, leave those MP positions, let the Sengezo guys fill those positions. And Chamisa needs to start something new, something fresh again. We have to be done and to succeed. Then I will look at SADC. SADC is a key solution for Chamisa, and dialogue must continue with Chamisa outside of all these ZANU-PF structures. And there must be pressure, must be serious, serious pressure on President Mnangagwa. No one recognizes President Mnangagwa. Anyway, you can look at any country right now. There's no country that recognizes President Mnangagwa. Even the countries in SADC, they're struggling to understand what to do with him. I have got footage from yesterday's call in SADC, and you can clearly see that there was big, big disagreement on what has happened in Zimbabwe, what to do next. And that is why a physical meeting had to be called of the SADC. There is no way President Mnangagwa can get out of this one. It's a mess for Zimbabwe. And let me just play a little snippet here from the Sengezo interview with Ezra Chisa. He did an interview with Sengezo last week. And let me just play a snippet of that interview so that you understand what I'm saying. And this is something on the streets.
Absolutely, we can't leave a vacuum. We have created a vacuum and it has to be filled. So in politics, you cannot leave a vacuum, because if you leave a vacuum, we saw the blunders that were made by President, the late Morgan Tsvangirai, when he recalled the likes of Tendai Biti, the likes of Sipepa. He recalled them. Then he said, or the following morning, that he was not going to contest in those elections. And what did happen? ZANU-PF occupied the space. So we are going to close ZANU-PF. It doesn't mean that when we open these recalls, we are giving ZANU-PF 2,000.
Right. So this is the point of this whole thing. ZANU-PF does not like. So everything that you are seeing here. ZANU-PF does not like Chamisa. They do not like his style of opposition. So they keep trying to create their own opposition. But as I said to you before, these guys are not popular. The most popular person in Zimbabwe is Nelson Chamisa. And eventually, Nelson Chamisa is going to get into office. But the delicate stage where we are now needs to be managed. And you cannot manage it by doing half measures. So Chamisa cannot be half in and half out. He needs to be totally out of this thing. He needs to leave these guys. He needs to leave Sengezo or whoever wants to be in government, councils, whatever. Walk out of this thing and start a new thing. You'll be surprised what is going to happen. It's very, very powerful to leave these people because they are crazy people. They are not rational. What the Mnangagwa government is doing now is irrational. There is no normal person who recalls people who are elected and replaces them with people who are not elected and does it again. So that was Monzora first time, and this time with Sengezo. It's crazy. So Chamisa should now make a very, very bold move here. And let Sengezo have his Congress and whatever. Those are the things that he will be doing, but they mean nothing. The game is now at SADC. Chamisa has got a written opinion or decision by SADC that these elections were not free and fair. That's where he needs to worry about. Forget about all this current stuff that is happening in parliament. And he needs to be very, very strong to get out of this parliament and councils and senate. They mean nothing. And you can see that the violence is starting. Remember last week I said President Mnangagwa is looking for violence. The violence that you're seeing now is going to escalate. Very, very soon, none of the CCC guys will be able to do anything anyway because they're going to be handed down. This happened in the last election. You remember when I was with Dr. Betemba Mpofu at his house, I made a video when the CCC guys were being handed down, the MPs. This is happening again, the same thing. And this is the next election. So Chamisa and his party, they need to make a big, big decision here. There's nothing coming out of any partnership with President Mnangagwa. The only thing left is power sharing. And power sharing doesn't mean you have to agree. There has to be power sharing, and this has to be mediated. There has to be a mediated solution, and not what we have now. And we definitely have to have some form of transitional government. We can't have this thing that is happening right now. The Zimbabwe government, Zimbabwe parliament, ZEC, they've been discredited. These people, they don't know what they're doing. The ZEC cannot just do this, accept a letter from Chamisa, the main election, accept a letter from Sengezo for the by-election, take a by-election that is still being challenged in court and set dates for it. All these things that I'm telling you about are unconstitutional, they're illegal, and they are basically playing to the tribal emotions. You can see that people are divided on tribal basis. This is basically what they're doing here. And ZANU-PF is a master at this thing. But the game is now in Chamisa's court. Get out of anything to do with the Zimbabwean government, Zimbabwean parliament, Zimbabwean senate, councils. Let them run the thing. You heard what President Mnangagwa was saying yesterday. They are moving to the councils. And Sengezo is going to be recalling more MPs. So don't wait to be recalled. Make a decision and focus on SADC. Even if it means you have to go and camp at SADC in Botswana, that is what you have to do, not to listen to this thing. But I want to end up with a comment or two. Taku, Gambako Umboriwe Bato, Ripi Iwe. So let me tell you a story. I want you to understand Taku. Back in 2000 and in fact in 1998, when the MDC was formed, I was running the newspaper for the students at NAST called the NAST Observer. And I was one of the first people to buy the MDC card, the new ones, after a meeting which was held between students, labor at White City Stadium. So Tsvangirai came down and people had a meeting. So I was one of the first students. We were the first people to form opposition politics in Zimbabwe. And we sold those cards. The the magazine that I was running was one of the magazines that was conscientizing young people about politics in Zimbabwe and the importance of democracy. That was in 1998. So think what we're doing in 1998. So my democratic credentials are unquestionable. I always say this to people. If you see me, I do not like people who don't like democracy, people who are dictators. I don't like them at all. There's no day when I'm going to like it. And this is fact. You hear that, my friend? So I'm not a party person because I run a newspaper. I run since 2010. I've been running Gambako Media, and we've done a lot. We've brought up. I can list for you any YouTube channel that you know. Most of those channels came from Gambako Media. At one point, with 30 people working here at Gambako Media, and ZANU-PF brought down four of our YouTube channels through some their guys and some people that I won't mention to you. First, they tried to buy our channels. I think you didn't know that. They tried to buy our channels. It didn't work. They tried to bring down our channels. It didn't work. And I still don't hate ZANU-PF guys. I don't have a personal hatred for the people in ZANU-PF, but their behavior, especially the behavior of the Mnangagwa government, is crazy. Uh, the government of Zimbabwe has destroyed any chance of an investor coming to Zimbabwe. People that I work with are terrified of putting their money in Zimbabwe. There is no tourist who is going to come to Zimbabwe under these circumstances. You have someone who does not understand the impact of their actions. And when ED got into office, do you remember why he came into office? He said that Mugabe was messing up. He was going to fix the economy. He was going to open the space. All these things, the abductions. This is what he campaigned on to get the support of millions and millions of Zimbabweans. But now, what do you have? You have a nation that is stagnated, which is going nowhere. So that is my party. My party is democracy. And I wish that there would be 10 people like me in Zimbabwe. And when I say this, I mean someone who has walked into the ZANU-PF head office and seen what is there. And then you understand what I understand. I've sat down with ZANU-PF guys. They have the very same wishes as CCC guys. I've walked into the houses of CCC guys, the houses of ZANU-PF guys. There is no difference. None of the people at the bottom are benefiting from what Mnangagwa is doing and his family and whoever else. I've been to the barracks. I sat there with the guys in the army and guys in the police, guys in intelligence. I sit a lot with guys everywhere. And when I talk about guys in intelligence, I'm talking about young guys that you will not expect are intelligent. But none of them get anything from what is happening here. There is no person benefiting from the actions of Mnangagwa right now in Zimbabwe. Even the ZANU-PF guys, they're broke as hell because nothing is coming from ED. His style of politics is not leading anywhere. Now you understand. That is how I feel about this whole thing. I have flown into Zimbabwe more than 10 times in the past year. In fact, more than that in the past 2 years. Any project you try to start in Zimbabwe falls flat because of the currency, because money does not circulate. Nothing will ever come out from these guys. And take it from me, it's very, very frustrating because most of the young guys are going to die with nothing. They're going to leave this world without ever having achieved anything. These are young Zimbabweans. When I'm walking here in Cape Town, this afternoon, in fact, I have my walk in the evenings. I met two guys, and they say to me, Gambakwe. So everyone recognizes me everywhere I go. They say to me, Gambakwe, when are things going to be okay at home? These guys are security guards. They work in the garden. So they met me near my complex. When are we going to go home? People are old. I met an old white lady yesterday, and I was walking in the park. And I didn't know she speaks Shona. So the guys I was speaking to were speaking Shona, and then she came to me, and she doesn't know me, of course, because she stays in the UK. She says, "I came here to visit my daughter. That is in Cape Town. I have been." She lived in Kwekwe and in Mtare. She says, "I don't know how I can explain this to you. When I heard your voice speaking Shona, I had to come here and talk to you. I want to go home." And this is an old white lady who stays in the UK. She was taking a flight yesterday. These guys don't get it. They don't get the damage they're causing to our country. And what they're doing with Chamisa, no one should support that. It's bad, very, very bad. You have seen me since the elections. I was telling you what a dangerous group of people we're dealing with here. And I've got no fear at all. You can see me, I don't fear anything from these guys are from Masvingo. You know where Masvingo is? You go in the bus from Harare, 311 kilometers. You are at Roy, and then 50 kilometers, you're at my village, Gambako village. I'm not afraid of these guys because they're people like you. They are just confused. Mnangagwa is not dangerous. Do you see? The things that he's doing now, like abducting people in broad daylight and recalling MPs and all that. That is not what a dictator does. That was what a confused person does, who does not know what he's doing. What do you think ZANU-PF is benefiting from this? Do you think ZANU-PF is getting more powerful from abducting people in broad daylight, running with guns, or pushing Mkwanans off the stage, or rigging elections in broad daylight with no ballot papers? All those things. I think you summarized it for me. Let me display this comment. Uh, okay, I'm looking at my mouse here. Um, Prince, Princess Ola, ED and dementia. Okay, I want to unpack that. ED and dementia. How old is ED? He's quite old, right? Imagine you take your father right now and tell him to go and run, let's say, take Old Mutual, like that company. Say, go and run Old Mutual. That is what we have here. He needs very, very good advisors. The things that he's doing, appointing his sons, appointing Valerius Banda, all those things. That is what I'm saying. It's crazy. You can't do that. And Chamisa should not stand there in that parliament with these guys. There's nothing coming out of this thing. And if you're an MP now, or a councillor or a senator, nothing is coming from these guys. We need something different. And this different thing is a power sharing arrangement. I'm not saying disengage from politics. I'm saying disengage from these guys. Don't be sitting there in parliament after what they've done now. And make it a very, very strong position at SADC. President Hakainde Hichilema, I'm very, very confident that he's not going to let this thing just go. So do not be afraid at all. And as I said to the guys, our country will not change very easy. It will take something very, very drastic, and it's coming. Something is going to happen. ED, God is just putting him in a position where when he leaves office, we'll sit here and we'll say, do you remember that day when I told you that something is going to happen? There is no level of craziness. 3 months after the election, and you still have 5 years to go, which can be where we are now. I don't know. I think I'm getting emotional here with this thing. It's terrible. Let's look at. I personally don't trust trust a stranger. Okay, right. So I think we're good with this whole thing. Sengezo Shabangu definitely working with the Nagabo government, and Chamisa should not tolerate it. He has lost the CCC. From the paperwork perspective, Sengezo has taken that thing. But Chamisa is the most popular person. If he forms another party today, you will still get people to follow him. You still get voters. But this is no longer about voters. Chamisa has already won. SADC has already given Chamisa that this election was not free and fair. You should not go to another election when there's another election that is not free and fair. So now we need to go to power sharing. This is where SADC is going. Saturday, Chamisa should be sitting there and saying, we're doing a power sharing and we're not stopping. We're not doing anything else besides power sharing. So this is it for today. Dr. Fedias Mtener will update you as soon as anything comes out from SADC. And we'll also have a look at the Ngadzore situation tomorrow. Let's see whether there's been any identification and arrest of those guys that abducted him at gunpoint. And yeah, I think this is an interesting period, but we're coming to the end of the Mnangagwa era. Mnangagwa, President Mnangagwa is not going to be around as president for long. This is mistake after mistake after mistake. And he thinks he's getting powerful, but he's getting weaker and weaker, damaging his legacy in ways that no one could ever have imagined. So this is it. Good night, everybody. And thank you very much for watching and for all your support. As I said, our websites are going to be down for at least the next 2 weeks. Then we'll bring them back up again. Thank you very much and good night.
Kuno abo bano mama wanna get it nice I know pura meso I know pura nzebe I know kaya marigi kama kwetu tikomo Wengere como usasaire anogaya mari
kamba kwe uyo anotara mari anogaya mari garai mamunzwa pane nyaya pano zvamunoda kunzwa zvinotaurwa pano madiko kumunzwa mugova ne.com kamba kwe vanogaya mari vanotaura mari vanoziya mari kamba kwe vanotaura feya kuti pamberi zvichafamba sei vanomuterere zvikubatsirei mukufamba kwenyu zvikubatsirei mirai ndikudze kuti chokwadi pano chizere kamba kwe vanogaya cash vanopa mafacts vanotaura straight vane evidence vane confidence plus intelligence
entertainment current affairs and news kamba kwe .com usasarire kamba kwe anogaya mari